On to the fight against ISIS. Jordan's King Abdullah says he's a former general and a special forces commando when his dad was the king. So he's putting his military fatigues back on and ordering airstrikes against ISIS targets in response to the murder of the kidnapped Jordanian pilot. They say they'll take the fight to ISIS with or without the support of the United States, and it's unclear if they're going to get any support. Listen to this exchange between Press Secretary Josh Earnest and Fox News' Ed Henry.
You seem to be suggesting that the White House was not aware that the king was in Washington in large part, to get more support from the administration and the Congress for weapons, right?
Well, no, Ed, the administration is standing squarely behind the people of Jordan and the king, and we are certainly supportive of any efforts that are underway to try to strengthen his national security and to strengthen his ability to make tangible contributions to this broader campaign.
Well, let's bring in Pete Hegseth, who is a Concerned Veterans for America CEO. And Pete, you know, I guess you can't even call that a strongly worded statement, but that's about all it is.
What did Josh Earnest just say? He said nothing at one time, and that's why Jordan feels like it has to go with or without America. Think about that phrase, with or without the Americans. We're going to take on ISIS, the greatest radical Islamic threat on the planet today. We have such a galvanizing moment right now, a moment where Jordan saw the sheer brutality that many of us have seen for years, and we've got an opportunity to build a real coalition. Airstrikes is great. Airstrikes are great. They've had some impact on ISIS. What we need are boots on the ground from Muslim countries in that region who see ISIS for the threat that it is. That should be Jordan, that should be Egypt, that should be Saudi Arabia, that should be Turkey, but it will require American leadership to lead that coalition, including American leadership on the ground, and you are not seeing that from this White House.
And that is the big point, Pete, because that is what a lot of people say is that, look at, especially the people that don't want to get involved, they're going, that is their war, they can clean up their garbage, they can do it themselves, it's their neighborhood. Others are saying that if we don't do something, this is Germany 1940 all over again, so we have to do something.
Well, it's the manifestation. It's Islamism. Just like Nazism or communism, this is what we're facing. It's easy to say it's their fight, except in that region, they look at Iraq and they look at ISIS, and who do they blame? They blame the Americans who toppled Saddam, created the environment. We surged, then we left. Now ISIS has come from Iraq to Syria and back into Iraq. They blame us for that. We're going to have to be a part of putting those pieces back together, but it doesn't mean we go it alone or do it alone. We should, and it will require us to cobble together a difficult ground-based coalition that currently does not exist. Airstrikes will not do it. American leadership is the central ingredient to a real coalition, and this White House refuses to carry that mantle. And that's why you see a country like Jordan saying, well, if the Americans aren't there, I guess we'll have to do it ourselves.
But they do need us, because they've also got a big headache with the fact they got over 1 million refugees in their country. But this whole business again of us showing some leadership over there, it really feels very strongly like the White House is kind of like these unemployment numbers and everything else. They say ISIS is being defeated, Al-Qaeda is being defeated, and yet the map shows that ISIS is still continuing to grow and take more cities.
Boy, there's such a disconnect between the words at the podium and the actions on the ground. And that's what our enemies see and what our allies see. And that's why our coalition never really formed, because they heard the right rhetoric, but they never saw the actions. And that's why our enemies are very emboldened. They hear this, you know, Charlie Brown wah-wah over the phone rhetoric in Washington, but they don't actually see any action, so they're emboldened to continue, whether it's ISIS, whether it's Putin in the Ukraine, whether it's Al-Qaeda in Yemen, launching even more aggressive attacks. They're not seeing any changes in policy. They're certainly not seeing American leadership, and they're taking advantage of it.
Pete Hegseth, Concerned Veterans for America. Thank you, Pete, very much.
Thank you.
You bet.